Okay, welcome everybody. My name is Chad Johnson, and I am studio director at the San Francisco Center for the Book. I'm also multitasking. But welcome to today's Shelter in Studio. We are very happy to have you all here, and we are very happy to be going to visit the studio of Nina Eve Zeininger. Nina Eve Zeininger is a paper artist working primarily in bookmaking, photography, and letterpress printing. Their work is infused with nature, bright colors, fun, and sarcasm. After growing up in New England, Nina headed west to earn a BFA in photography from the San Francisco Art Institute, and they haven't yet found a good reason to leave. They are currently pursuing an MLIS degree in archives management and academic librarianship via Indiana University, Purdue University, Indianapolis online. I am personally very happy to introduce Nina today as a valued instructor and a former coworker. Nina and I worked closely over the past 4 or 5 years to strengthen and expand the workshop offerings of SFCB. So I'm excited to see both their working space and cats. So Nina, I'm going to switch the spotlight over to you. Take it away.
Awesome. Thanks, Chad. Welcome, everyone. And I'm excited to show you around. As I put in the chat, Chad and I literally worked side by side back when you could do that. So this is almost like working together in the studio again. And some of the things you'll see I have adopted because they were not quite good enough for the center for the book studio, but they work really well for the home studio. So I thought I would start by giving you a quick tour around. I will give also a brief word of warning. We are maximalists in this house, so everything has a place, but there are a lot of things that need places. So there's not too much breathing room, as you'll notice. Chad, are we good? I'm gonna pop over to start the tour.
Yeah, go ahead, and I'll switch the camera.
Okay. Ready when you are.
All right.
Okay. So my studio lives in what on the blueprint for the apartment is the dining room. So this is the living room and I work behind the couch. I have a nipping press that I got at a hand bookbinder's garage sale. It does have a book in it right now. When my partner's son became a teenager and was too cool for his bunk bed, I adopted the stairs to the bunk bed. They currently lead up to the top of the cat tree, but I use them for these handy drawers that can store printed cards. And just to give you the rest of the tour, there are a box of offcuts that are really great for wrapping things, my print area, and photo editing. That is my actual work area in the back where I put in like 40 hours a week. And that's everything. So I'm going to pop back over to the other camera to show you some of the equipment I have. All right, hello again. So now we'll get another look at things. So some of the things that I have that are great for a small studio, I figured that would sort of be what I focus on today. A lot of times I'm teaching students that are a little nervous about bookbinding because they don't have all the stuff at home, but it's okay, you can make it work. My oldest and probably like most important piece of equipment for a very long time has been this cutter that I found on a dusty shelf at the Dick Blick in Berkeley. And it has no brand name or anything, but it is a shear that I've had for about 10 years now. And I can only cut one signature at a time, or about 5 sheets of paper, but it sure as heck takes the work out of having to cut by hand with a straight edge. So this was probably the best like $75 investment I've ever made. Another handy thing, this is really, I've gotten this in the last year and a half, I think. This has really revolutionized a lot of my prep. This, I know it's a little hard to see. Let's see if I can get some more light on it from the window. But this, the arm is a tabletop guillotine. And there was a point in time, at some point in 2019, Chad and maybe some of the other instructors will remember, it seemed like everybody wanted to donate a tabletop guillotine to the Center for the Book. Some of them not working, but the Center for the Book has some really great, really large guillotines, so they didn't need them. So on the very last time somebody called, Chad said, if you come with me and help me move it, and it works, you can have it. So it sounded like a really sweet deal to me, so I took it. And it worked, and it's in square, so now I have a tabletop guillotine. It can't cut a phone book the way the larger ones can, but it can cut through a whole paperback. So now I can cut my book blocks all at once instead of having to do everything on the small cutter. And a few of the other things I have adopted in similar situations are sort of pieces that were handmade for other people's binderies that if I were to buy them all brand new, I just don't have the funds right now to do that. I love working in nonprofits, but it means I can't always have the best equipment. This is a tabletop job backer of sorts. And the pressure is applied by these wing nuts, one of which is broken over here, so I'll have to replace it. But it does have the angled metal jaw at the top. So again, only for small books, but it works great for me and fits right on my normal workspace. Otherwise, I'd probably need to like lose the couch for a job backer, and we're just not willing to do that. I also took a finishing press of sorts that again somebody had created just with some bolts and some wing nuts. So I'm not great at building these things myself, so I love that as people expand their own binderies, they get rid of the homemade things and I put them to use. So right now this has a book that I am going to be rebinding for my niece. So I use the guillotine to chop the spine off of a used copy of Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone because my niece turned 11 this year. So she's gonna get that bound in her house colors. So that's my current project. Before I had this press though, I had this very homemade one that I probably got in like 2009 that just like appeared on the doorstep of the Center for the Book one day. It is 2 pieces of book board with some wood at the top and again some wing nuts, and it opens just enough to get like a book in there, but it is enough. I guess I should have maybe stuck something in there, but I have used it to sew headbands and to kerf or to saw into spines. Anything that you kind of use a finishing press for, I have made that work for a long time. So it's kind of near and dear to me, but also it's kind of crummy. So now I can use it for processes that maybe involve glue that I don't want to get onto my nicer press. And so I could still use that. And it's super small, so I can just tuck it away like behind the printer and it doesn't take up too much space. The last thing I was going to show, so I hope you have some questions because this is most of the stuff that I have. The last thing I wanted to show is my newest creation that my partner helped me build. As some of you know, and from Chad's introduction that he gave, I am also a photographer. That is what I went to school for. I do a lot of nature work, but then also product photography. So I've done a lot of the photography, or been lucky enough to do a lot of the photography for the exhibitions at the Center for the Book, where there's a nice photo setup upstairs in the mezzanine. And since we're on shelter in place and I don't have space for that, but I have some books I need to photograph for Cheryl Ball to get in the store. It's like, I need a photo studio. How do I make one? So I found some collapsible lights on Amazon, and utilized Pinterest to find some ideas for what other people are doing. And my partner built me this collapsible photo booth. So again, small in scale is sort of the name of the game over here. The wooden photo booth that opens up. So I can kind of set it anywhere the light's good, enhance it with other lights, and I have small scale, like 24-inch wide backdrops that I can just clip to the top. And voila, I magically have a photo studio. And then it folds up almost flat so that it can just quickly tuck out of the way, and then I have space to work again. And that's my studio.
Cool.
Yeah.
Thank you. I'll get to some of the questions in a minute, but some of the questions are relating to projects. Did you have any like projects besides Harry Potter that you wanted to maybe show or talk about maybe some of the classes you've been teaching in your space?
Oh, sure. Let's see, actually, yeah, I forgot one thing. This will kind of answer both questions at the same time. The light's a little blown out over here. On the back of my cutter that I'm not using right now, it's a great flat surface for pressing things. So I have some books that don't need to be in the nipping press anymore, but still I want them to dry flat under weight. I was working on them this morning, hence the gluey apron. So they are sitting under, as I often tell my students, a heavy book will do if you don't have a nipping press at home. So they are under my Wes Anderson collection book. But I have several flatback case bindings that are drying flat. So if you are one of my students, this one's got hedgehogs on it. It's so cute. A couple weeks ago, I taught a case binding review class. So for folks that had gone through the core, but maybe haven't had a chance to do too much since we went on shelter in place, we quickly went through all of the steps. And so if I were teaching in person, I would make one book with my students over 8 hours. But when you are teaching in 2 hours online, that resulted in me needing to go through the steps for 6 different books that were all in various stages of completion. So after the class, each book made it to another step of completion. So I just laid everything out here and finished all 6 of the books. So now I have those finished books. That's my latest thing. What else have I done in here recently? I also do, as you know, I turn 6-pack containers into books. So here are a couple of things that will be photographed and headed Cheryl's way. So it's a link stitch binding and a modified version of the sewn boards binding to make hardcover book. And let's see, the other class I have coming up that some of you may be in is paste papers. So when I need to turn this now messy surface into a paste paper making surface, which is a wet process, I have these 2 pieces of plexiglass that they're just from Lowe's. I think both pieces together were less than 20 bucks. And I can lay them out side by side, and I have a nice surface that I can get wet without it messing too much else up. Paint on it, get it messy, super easy to clean off. And if you are unsure of what paste papers is, super fun way to get some surface patterning onto paper. And I do have, this is my paste papers drawer in which I have sponges, tools, paint, and everything else I need. So when I need a paste paper studio, I just open up that drawer and lay everything out. The main difficulty I have at home, they've decided to sleep the day away, is that my cats like to put paw prints into my paste papers and make their own patterns over what I've done. But That's mainly been my focus. I am also in grad school, so normally once a semester starts, I'm not doing as much art stuff. Or having this table, it's collapsible if it ever gets in the way. But this table is strictly a work table. So maybe if I need like a 5-minute eye break from the screen, I'll do a little bit. That's enough time to like fold a bunch of signatures, and then they can sit and wait here until I have time to do something else, maybe in like the 10 minutes I have before work in the morning or something like that. So my process is making do with what I have and also making do with what little bits of time I have to get things done.
Awesome. Thank you, Nina. So let's see, a couple quick questions here. Some comments, but I'll just get to the questions. Someone asked, did Chad say you were a paper maker? I don't remember saying that, but I don't think you are a paper maker.
I am not. It's a question that I think maybe bookbinders get kind of frequently, at least I feel like it is. I think paper making is a great process. I just at a certain point had to be like, can I do all the things? Or what should I focus on that I really want to do? And so at a certain point, I feel like I could complete projects like picking the fibers, making the paper, and then making a book I felt like that was a little bit much. So I focus on the paper other people have made.
Right.
So I do, and the surface patterning is maybe the closest I get to sort of creating my own things on paper.
Michelle asks if you have just some advice, general advice on arranging a lot of stuff in a small space.
I would say I'm geometrically challenged. Well, I'm great at some other things that involve math. That is not necessarily my strong suit. My personal method when I was living on my own was just to like put things in places and see, like do some trial and error to make things fit. And stacking is a really big thing, as you can see here. But my partner is really good on the math thing. So we actually measured out before moving, like would everything fit? Sometimes I have to get rid of things, like some of the scraps end up in the recycle bin and moves just to fit everything. I'll also like thinking upward, which I know is somewhat nerve-wracking in an earthquake prone area, but for instance, I have some cube shelves that you may have seen. They're just on the side when we went through the tour. And I had a roommate who was really good at carpentry. And so he made them exactly wide as studs are in walls with hooks on them so that they can go directly they can be built on each other in like a modular form, a little like IKEA, but they can also go right into the wall just to take things up off the floor that are lighter. So what's heavier, heavier things can be stacked on the floor. Like this shelf you see back here, what you don't see down at the bottom are like 3 trays of lead type that I have, and then lighter things just kind of building up on that. And at some point you have to sacrifice a little bit of order, like look at that. It's not gonna always look like Pinterest. You just gotta sacrifice it and make sure you can get to everything. I think that was the big thing. Like, yeah, I could fit more, but then I wouldn't be able to open my drawers, right? And but also like that's the kitchen through that door. The cats also think it's a portal to another universe. But since you can enter the kitchen from the other side of the house, like, okay, I can get up and walk over there. And then I have another wall that I can put some things in front of. And the 3 things in front of it, should there ever be a reason that needs to open or an emergency, are all on wheels and can just be moved around as they need to adjust the space. I think that's another big thing. Folding tables have been really helpful. I have 2 more if I need to sort of wedge myself in, but have a bigger space to work. Like I can pop them up and then take them down and be clean. Like to stack your things up and tidy them as you finish up for the night. So I would love to have a studio where I just leave 10 projects ongoing out, but that's not possible if I want to get things done. So, I'll pack this away when we're done, and then I'll move on to this thing, and that'll be my focus for a minute. But every night it'll sort of be moved off to the side.
Heartily agree on that last point. Cleaning is part of cooking, washing up is part of printing, and putting things away is part of binding. It's just part of the process. I'll come back to one other question here. Someone, Mary Elizabeth asks, is that a press in the back corner?
Yes, it is. It is a tabletop press. So it sort of works in that it operates correctly. I saw somebody put in, can you talk about the Kelsey? It is unfortunately not a Kelsey. It is a press that it seems few people have heard of called a challenge tabletop press, kind of like the Cutter. And I've had it for a while. I have made some prints on it, but the platen is not level, if anybody knows about platen presses. And unfortunately, my experience in leveling a platen has mostly been standing beside Chad or Lisa Rappaport and handing tools and pestering them with questions and not actually leveling it myself. So someday when we can go back in person, I will put it in the, it fits in the trunk of a Mini Cooper, and it'll ride over to the center, and I will maybe pester somebody to help me adjust it. And then it'll be good to go. The rollers were new when I got it, so the rollers are still great. I have a boxcar base for it for plates if I wanted to send off or make those. I have a few cuts and some lead type, but just isn't worth trying to get an even impression right now until I level the platen. But again, another small thing, and it's actually sitting on a small type case I got from Anne Marie Munn before she relocated.
It's a date, Nina. Just let's open back up. We'll get that leveled. That is 4 bolts, and we'll be all set. Mary asks, how do you not expand out into the living room? Are you actively getting rid of selling stuff as you make it?
I'm trying to. There are a lot of boxes you may have seen. So like pieces, I have so many 6-pack containers from beer and cider that need to become covers that there just hasn't been time for. So there's a lot of stacking in that sense, but I do try and stay pretty contained. My knitting projects have migrated to like under the couch in the living room. They don't stay here. So I migrate a little bit. Drying things like paste papers temporarily migrate out until I stack up. And then I do sell things. I have a few things on my website, but actually in my small ability to support the center, I photograph them and then I drop them off for Cheryl Ball, who puts them in the online store at the Center for the Book. So they get some of the funds as well. So yeah, I try to actively sell what I can, and then it doesn't get too much. And you know, you really only need so many blank books yourself before you got to send them off into the world.
Agreed. And what is your website, just so that people know to go look there?
I will put it in the chat because it's my whole name, which is German and somewhat confusing to spell. There's some extra letters in there. But then, like I said, also I would just think about checking the shop at the Center for the Book as well, because they'll have some more things and some different things than what I have online, and then we all get a little bit of the money.
And I mentioned your degree in the intro, but do you want to just talk about how that fits into your making and your?
Yeah, I usually say that I live and breathe books, and I probably have since before I could really read. My mother ran a daycare out of the house, and so I learned really quickly that the kids will play and break with all of your toys, except if you have books, because no kid in their right mind wanted to play with a book. So that's kind of where it started. I didn't know that you could like study to be a librarian or to be a book binder. I don't enjoy writing books myself. So I fell into bookbinding accidentally in college, and that sort of became my focus and has been for the last 12 years. And then I decided to kind of look at another aspect of books, which would be library science. I also fell into administrative roles at Hard Rock Cafe for a little while, at the Center for the Book for most of my time, and now at California College of the Arts, where I was helping people find information, of which a book is a container for information. So it sort of expands from there. And I really, really enjoyed that. One of my favorite things at the center was to take this report that makes some people cringe on Excel, called an event income summary report, which is pages and pages and pages of numbers that are plugged in. And some people don't like to look at numbers. So I got asked by the board to turn it into something they could understand. And so I started writing stories from the content that was in there. And it was my favorite project. I think I was kind of doing somebody's committee work for them, but I didn't care. Like, I loved doing that like once a quarter. And I was like, if I really like this, I've kind of been thinking about library science anyways, because I like working in cultural institutions, maybe museums someday. Maybe I should just study how to work with information, the information itself and what's inside the book or online. And so that is what led me there. I'm hoping to figure out some way. I'm only in my second semester, but I'm hoping to figure out a way to turn like what I can do with physical books and knowing how, or physical objects, I guess I should say, and knowing how to work with that stuff with the digital, and just to get more people access to what they need.
All right. Well, the one last question I don't think we quite have time for, but someone wanted to see the photo studio more, set it up more, but that would be a little too much to do right in the last minute here. But I think what you were describing was a roll of paper that you could clip when you said you had multiple different backdrops, that you had like rolls of paper.
Yeah, maybe I will, obviously not right now. That stuff actually, speaking of migrating out of my studio, is at the top of the bedroom closet because that was a little bit much to keep in here. But I will maybe take a few photos, I'm thinking, after this really quickly, just so people can see like the whole set that I have is collapsible, and then have what's oftentimes called a seamless, which is just a long roll of paper. I have a white one and a black one that they clip on, or in a more traditional photo setting, there'd be a bar that they sit on and roll down, and it just kind of creates, without a fold, it creates an even backdrop for you to take photos against.
All right. Well, that just about does it. Takes us right up to 1 o'clock. Thank you so much, Nina, for this wonderful tour of your studio. Any parting words you'd care to share with everyone?
I don't know, I didn't think of any words of wisdom today, but thank you all for joining. It's really exciting, and thank you to everybody who's got their cameras on, because then I feel like I'm talking to real people. But thank you all for coming and supporting the center, and then thanks to the center for talking me into doing this opportunity. I was nervous about it, but it's been fun.
Oh, well, we're so glad to have you. Thanks everybody for coming. We will, if you have any questions about anything you've seen here, you can email us. You can find us online at sfcb.org, obviously. And next week, please feel free to join us again Thursday at lunchtime for our next Shelter in Studio. So thank you all very much. And thank you, Nina. And have a great day, everybody. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thanks, everyone.